Good?
Good.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a red dot.
Some good-looking people in this room. I like it. A lot of good, friendly faces. Welcome and thank you all for coming. In case there's someone who doesn't know who I am, I was and am Elise's son. And I know a lot of you have traveled some pretty far distances to get here, and we truly appreciate all of you being here to help us celebrate her life as we share stories and remember the amazing Elise Pryor Wilson. Today is a day to reflect and share stories about someone we love and hold near in our hearts, Elise Pryor Wilson. Lead to her friends, sister and auntie to her family, Elsie to every telemarketer they ever called, Gigi to her grandsons, wife and best friend to my father, and mommy to my sister and myself. She was a woman who could wear many hats and be many things to many people, all without losing an ounce of who she was. Losing someone like Elise, who wasn't just the glue to so many relationships, she was the cement that their foundation was laid upon, hits us all very hard. When our hearts fill with sorrow, it is important we find comfort in one another's company and share stories that remind us that we are not alone and she is only gone in the physical sense. Just being together here today to look into one another's faces takes away some of our loneliness and draws our hearts together and the healing that we need to move forward. My mom never considered herself to be a religious woman, despite her best efforts, but that doesn't mean she was without spirituality. Often she would explain to us that she enjoyed the journey of learning versus the ritual of practice, that she understood the universe was not just hers, and it was our job as people of many different faiths and beliefs to always be kind, always be humble, and always be asking questions while searching for the answers. Today, let our different beliefs that can separate us unite us as we come together in harmony that serves all creeds and assures the spirit of human goodness and hope. My mother, Elise, perpetual smile and positive attitude epitomize that. Today will be a unique celebration, one that we will hope represents the uniqueness of my mom, because as we all know, she was anything but traditional. It would be a lie to say that planning this was easy, not solely because of our sorrow, but because to each of us she meant something so different, so each of us had our own idea of how to best represent her. To my dad, she represented the ultimate life partner, someone who had his back no matter what, was just as fearless and adventuresome as he was, and could be the support he needed to be the professional success he is today, while keeping him grounded that it means nothing without the love of family. Truly the yin to his yang. To my sister, she represented the ultimate role model, a strong-willed, independent woman who could do it all with grace and style. A woman ahead of her time in all the right ways, including wearing Ugg boots, or mini Tonkas as we knew them, way before Tom Brady. In a time where women continue to fight to prove their equality, my mom showed my sister how to throw her voice into that fight and never let a man dictate her worth. To me, she was mommy, the person who kissed away the pain of boo-boos, could see no fault in me, considering me perfect, inspired me to find the joy in helping others succeed, to try to see the good in everyone, and give me the confidence to fail and the support to get back up. Throughout her life, those roles touched us all and crossed all of our paths. Today we hope you share your stories of how she did that for you. So while it may be her death that has brought us here together today, it should be her love, her warmth, and the lessons that she gave us that carries us home. Let this be our chance to thank her for all that she gave us, for all that she taught us, and remind each other of how she will live on in each of us. We will miss her terribly, but as the saying goes, gone but never forgotten. And with that, I would like to introduce Riley James Wilson, or as she liked to call him, her Prince Charming #1, to read his poem, What Would Gigi Do? You want the mic?
Please.
Okay.
We want to hear you, Riley.
Yeah.
Check. All right.
Hello, everybody. My Gigi earned her nickname because to me she was the most gorgeous grandma because she was so pretty, nice, and caring. That was too hard to say, so she became Gigi. She was the best, and I will always be thankful that I got to spend so much time with her. My poem called What Would Gigi is about some of those memories. What would Gigi do if she saw a homeless person, she would give them whatever money she could. What would Gigi do if she knew you liked trains? She would drive to you to every train station so you could watch them go by. What would Gigi do if I told her I have foot cramps? She would rub both feet at the same time because I have 2 feet and she has 2 hands. What would Gigi do if her electric cart stopped working? Nothing, because Gigi never used her electric cart because the grandkids always had it. What would Gigi do if she fell trying to make you a PB&J sandwich? She would get back up, and if the sandwich fell too, she would make you a different, better one. What would Gigi do if her car stopped working and it was raining outside? She would wait in her car and call her best friend Pop-Pop to pick her up. What would Gigi do if she got caught smoking by me? She would tell me, don't ever smoke, stop smoking, and come back inside to watch TV and take a nap. What would Gigi do if she fell outside of a CVS? She would get back up while I sit there waiting in an Indian style. What would Gigi do if her grandchild had a fundraiser going on? She would give him a lot of money, so much the fundraiser couldn't handle it. What would Gigi do if she was given a body that didn't work well? She would never give up or feel sorry for herself and say it could be worse. What would Gigi do if a child came to her doorstep on Halloween? She would give them a giant candy bar. What would Gigi do if she couldn't work her phone? She would come talk to me, because old people don't understand technology. What would Gigi do if she doesn't know something? Nothing, because Gigi knew everything. Minus her phone. There are a lot of things there are a lot of things my Gigi would do. But she would never cheat, never feel sorry for herself, never turn down someone who needs help, and she would never give up. Those are just a few things my Gigi couldn't do.
Tough act to follow. Tough act to follow. So with that, we're going to have a slight substitution in the program here. Robinson Clark would like to come in and step in for Amy, so he has something that he'd like to read on behalf of Amy Wilson. Robinson.
Hi everybody. I thought I'd start crying once I started talking. I didn't realize I'd be bawling through that whole amazing poem. That was incredible. Well, I think about it. I probably have known Gigi for the shortest period of time in this whole room. You know, it's only been 4.5 years, so it's been short, but it was such a powerful experience, and I feel like she was the kind of person who it could be 4.5 minutes and she would have an impact on you. Sorry, I'll try to pull it together, but
Okay.
And you know, mother-in-laws, you're supposed to, I thought you were supposed to sort of not like them. She made that really difficult, and I gave her a lot of opportunity. I mean, just think about the first time she actually met me. I showed up and her daughter was pregnant. So. And the second or third time she met me, she was out visiting me at my house in our home in Long Island, and the cops came to arrest me. Which Mikey saw all of in its glory, and so did Amy, a pregnant Amy, and for having a little episode with the neighbors. But none of that stuff ever, she may have raised an eyebrow, and well deserved, but I never felt anything but so welcome in this family, and same from Jim, and same with Mikey, just embraced. It's bitter, I have to say. I mean, this is a celebration, but I know everyone feels this. It's a feeling of, that surreal feeling that someone's not with us. Is really hard, and but even in the 4.5, those fairly short time, the things, I couldn't have said, what Riley just said and what Mikey said were, summed it up so well. I just haven't met someone with that kind of, grace is really, grace and gracefulness are the words that come to my mind in dealing with any adversity, but also dealing with opportunity and life and the joy of life. She just did it well, on the ski slopes, down to, like Riley was saying, if she had a fall, and it just it's been tough. We had a daughter about 3.5 months ago, and she's a handful, and it's been hard for Amy to find the space to really mourn her mother in a way that she truly would want to, but she's talking to her, and Amy learned that from Elise, who would talk to her mom after her mom passed, and I just know that Amy's gonna be talking to her more and more, and her spirit it's in that house so much in a great way. Like, I see her in the kitchen, I used to come down, I'm an early riser, and we'd have coffee and barely talk to each other. It's perfect, And we'd do crossword puzzles together, and she was great. And she just loved the newspaper. I just loved watching her sit outside and have a cigarette and read. And she's there. I see that all the time, and that's the beauty of it. It's hard, but I'm so glad, and I know that Amy, you talking to her, she's listening. She's talking back to you. So I just had just from lines from a song from, but that reminded me of some of the things that Amy was probably feeling, some of the challenges that these guys all face in this time, and so I thought I'd read that. I also just want to say, as much as a hero as I think Elise was, I think Jim has been such a hero all along. He's a hero for nabbing someone so beautiful so early. He wasted no time. He knew what was up, and but the care and love that you showed her, and I saw it through some adversity, through some of those really difficult moments, and I didn't see some of the worst moments that I know Mikey and Amy were heroic through too. But you're a serious power of example for that for me. So anyway, I'll just read this and shut up. Suddenly, all your histories ablaze. Try to breathe as the world disintegrates. Just like autumn leaves, we're in for change, holding tenderly to what remains. And all your memories are as precious as gold, and all the honey and the fire which you stole have you running through all your red-cheeked days, shaking loose these souls from their sacred space, from their sacred hiding space. Hold your heart courageously as we walk into this dark place. Stand steadfast, erect, and see that love is the province of the brave. Thank you.
All right, that's a good way to follow up. Good way to follow up. All right, where are we here? All right, thank you, Robinson, for sharing, and Riley for sharing as well. We are so very proud of the young man you are becoming. You truly have your Gigi spirit inside of you. One of the things that my mom did so well that we are so thankful for was introduce us to music and a love of music. So many of our childhood memories involve listening to things ranging from Beethoven, Paul Simon, Guns N' Roses, even a little Biggie Smalls. She made sure we were exposed to it all. When we moved from California back to Pennsylvania in 1986, we had 4 tapes that seemed to play nonstop. Paul Simon's Graceland, Neil Diamond's Heartlight, the Flashdance soundtrack, and a mixtape from her brother Tom that had a bit of everything on it. The memories of riding in the back of our VW van again, singing as loudly as we could, are as clear as if they just happened yesterday. I think we only made it to about Nevada before my mom suggested that, hey, maybe Mikey sings, and Amy, you work on the dance moves. And that was the magic of Elise. Rather than point out the fact that my sister is tone deaf and can't carry a tune, and tell her what she can't do, she inspired us to do what we could do. A few years ago, while working in recruitment, I met the very talented Michelle Lordy. We have asked her here today to join us to bring to life some songs that will always remind us of our Elise. The list was endless and the choices were tough, but the songs we narrowed it down to we feel truly represent her in one way or another. The first selection is the song Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. My mom introduced me to this song and the songwriter as a way to show me the power of words and that music can have on people. It's not a gospel, yet not lacking in spirituality, just like Elise. Michelle?
Well, I've heard that there's a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, here before. I've seen this room and I've walked this floor. You know I used to live alone before I knew you. And I've seen your flag on the marble arch. And love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from life was how to shoot somebody that outdrew you. And it's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not someone who's seen the light. It's a cold, it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Yeah, I can do that. Okay. Throughout the past few weeks, as people have offered their condolences on my loss, you hear a range of questions as they grasp for the right words to find. Questions like, was she in pain? Was she sick? Did she suffer? And many others. As if my answer would somehow justify the grief I felt. They don't anger me, as much as I understand that death is a difficult emotion to process. But perhaps none more perplexing to me was the question, were you close? Like, what do you mean, were we close? Other than the 18 years we lived together? Again, the question didn't anger me, but I guess it never really dawned on me that people aren't close with their moms. I mean, I know it happens, but it didn't really hit me that somehow grief would be tied to the closeness of one's parent. The answer was yes, we were all very close. But not just because of who she was, but also because of the people she introduced us to. My mom could build relationships with everyone and keep friends like it was her job. Family ski trips with the Stevens, stories about growing up with the Watsons, frequent visits from Eileen, daily breakfast at the Yardley Cafe with women named Pearl and Opal. When you walked around with my mom, or you ate at a local restaurant with her, you truly felt like you were walking with a celebrity because everyone knew her and everybody just had to come say hello. All part of a wonderful childhood that taught us the value of being kind and building relationships. The next two group of speakers were my mother's connection to just being Elise. Not wife, not mom, just Elise. Not only were my sister and I blessed to have two wonderful parents, the jackpot for adopted kids, if you will, but we were also blessed to have another set of moms. A group of women we referred to as the Wickers. At first we were told it was just a group of high school friends that liked to go to Lancaster to shop for wicker furniture, you know, typical suburban mom boring stuff. Summers would be shared vacationing down at LBI, and all the Wicker kids now had a new group of extended brothers and sisters. Seemed all so very innocent. Then, one day that all changed. Remember the days of answering machines? You know, the ones without mailboxes where we all heard each other's messages? Well, I walk in from school one day, get the messages, and hear this. Elise, it's Carol. Can't find the mail stripper. Call me. What? My jaw hit the floor, and my mind raced with questions. Because you see, being adopted, we just had the luxury of believing that the stork brought us. Needless to say, innocence was lost that day. But what I did learn was that no matter how old you are, how married, you never need to stop having a good time. The second set of friends dates back to Elise in grade school, but we know them as the Looney Lake Girls. And thankfully, I don't have any scarring memories of male strippers. But who knows, because by that time we got an answering machine with separate mailboxes. Allow me to introduce the Wickers.
That was quite a scene. It's awesome. All right. Elise, beautiful person.
Come on over and use the mic.
Use the microphone. You guys don't mind?
I can talk loud. Again. Elise, beautiful person to all of us in so many different ways. Even her name, if it's pronounced correctly. Elise, I think, has a lovely ring to it. And trying to organize some of our thoughts about her. And we put it together sort of in the format of using her name. E, energetic. Energy that almost defied understanding. She just kept on going. In fact, even into the few months before, weeks almost before, it seems, that she was power washing at one of your places here in Lower Makefield. Power washing. And not only was she doing that, she would be up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning and then doing it. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Another quality, gift, that she gave all of us too, I think, is empathy. Empathetic. Responding to others with feelings that you understand. Empathy. I mean, she had the friends, as mentioned, having breakfast at the luncheonette, and then she related to, I know a lot of your friends, Michael and Amy, and just was wonderful in that way. And a really, I think, important part of empathy is listening. Listening without judgment, making you feel that someone's understanding what you're saying, and Elise could do that. And I hope that all of you had a chance to experience that with her. And it brings us to the letter L, the listening part.
Elise loved all her family, especially the grandchildren. She loved her many friends. She just loved life.
LBI too, Bill. She loved LBI. Too bad we don't have a B because she loved LBI.
And her intelligence, going on to I. She was really good at imparting her intelligence. It was such a great part of Elise, and influential, and so insightful. There was not ever a wicker problem, or dilemma, or whatever situation we find it, Elise didn't have the most beautiful insight and helpful to all of us to gain from her influence and insight. Our beautiful, intelligent Elise.
Yes. Elise could tell stories. And the hours we would spend together traveling on our various wicker trips, it wouldn't, if there was a sheep on the hillside, she would have a story about the species of sheep, and she would go on for 30 minutes about this. Or the mating rituals of lions in Zimbabwe. She knew all about it. She'd go on and on with these stories. And I would turn around her and we'd look at each other and say, Elise, are you making this shit up? We wouldn't know if she wasn't our audience. It's S.
We have several S's. It's hard to say this, but a lot of times Elise was selfish. And that came when she refused to share dessert. She would go out for lunch. She would order the most wonderful desserts. And of course, I have a real liking for chocolate. And she didn't share one bite.
Get your own.
Get your own. Because I'm not sharing.
Thank you so much for sharing. And now we have the Looney Lake Girls.
Focus.
Looks like I was elected to do the speaking.
You set the mic in front of
All right, can you hear me now? I have a cheerleader voice. Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, we have, just to explain where Looney Lake came from, we have been going to a little lake on Lake Nubanussit in New Hampshire for the last 19 years. This will be the 19th year. Don't break your foot. I'll break it. And there are loons on the lake, and they sing us to sleep. And so we just became the Looney Lake Girls because we're a little crazy as well. Speak for yourself. I'm speaking for myself. And you. And you. And there are a few others of us who couldn't be here today, but they are here in spirit. Elise and I shared many of life's joys and sorrows together. She was my cheering partner, my maid of honor. I was her matron of honor, and yours too. She was my son's godmother. Certainly her friendship has been one of my greatest and most treasured gifts. It all started when we were 12 years old. Elise and I met over the summer and became fast friends. I loved her from the start. Her smile could light up a room. All the boys wanted to date her, and it would have been easy to have been jealous of her. She had it all: beauty, grace, charm, athleticism, yet she was oblivious to it all. There wasn't a phony bone in her body, and she was generous and kind, always. She was no pushover. If someone she loved was being either taken advantage of or abused in any way, she was like a ferocious mama tiger. She loved deeply and hard. It was pretty early on in our friendship that I realized just how special she was. She had 9 lives, and her life was a wonder to me. The first event that started me thinking that was in the beginning of 7th grade. We were in gym class together, and we were supposed to climb the ropes that were hanging from the top of the ceiling. We were supposed to shimmy up, touch the ceiling, and shimmy down. Elise shimmied up, touched the ceiling, and fell all the way to the floor. That was the first time that I went with her to get medical help. The next time was a lot more dramatic, and it was the summer between 8th and 9th grade. I believe that is. I'm pretty sure that's when it was. Just before she moved to Easton with her family. My mother had rented a house at the shore, and I had invited a number of girlfriends down. We all snuck out. You know, we all did that at some point or other. We all snuck out one night and went to Brielle Yacht Club to see Barbara Tell's father's sailboat. We were taking turns going up and down the mast in the bosun's chair, and Elise was at the top of the mast, and she called down to say, "I'm ready to come down." And one of the boys that was with us, who will remain nameless, started to ease her off, ease down the halyard, which is the rope that was attached, and it broke. And she fell 80 feet. And she hit the boom. It was a big teak boom, and it split in half. And she landed on the deck. And there was a man who had been watching us, crazy kids, from his boat. He came running, and he listened to her heart, and he took her pulse, and he said, "Oh my God, she's dead." And I went nuts. Elise was my best friend. And I freaked out, and I started screaming, and I ran. And I ran up the dock and hid in a hut at the top of the dock, and was in there sobbing. And someone came and found me and said, "Elise wants to go with you. It wants you to go with her in the ambulance." And I said, "Elise is dead." And I'm crying, and they said, "No, she's not. Come on. She wants you to go with her in the ambulance." Well, you know, the next day, she walked out of that hospital.
The doctor said that if she had hit that boom in any other way, she would have died on the spot, instantly. But instead, she told me she had been outside of her body looking down. It was very peaceful, it was very calm. She didn't feel any pain. She really wanted to go. But she said, "You were too hysterical and I couldn't leave you." So all I can say is, I am so grateful to God that He made me scream, had good enough sense to get me to scream and become hysterical so that she would stay with us. And we were blessed for at least another 60 years. And so, not to say that she didn't use up the other 7 lives because she left, before she had left, but she to make her way home. But there were many times when I chose, I would rather not remember, but I remember many times when Elise chose life and the pain that it brought her. Her body did not serve her well for most of her life. And I believe if it weren't for Jay, I've always known Jim as Jay, so he'll be Jay to me forever. If it weren't for him and his loving care, I don't think we would have had her for as many years as we did, so thank you. She never complained. She never said, "Why me?" There was never self-pity. And her usual statement was, "Well, this is just my new reality. Oh well, let's move right along." And she never let life knock her down, even though she had cancer and MS and neck fusions and a torn esophagus and paralyzed left hand and more and more and more. She never said, "Why me?" Friends, those wonderful companions that walk with us through life, they help us define and redefine and refine who we are and who we choose to be every day. Elise was a true companion and a beloved friend. A friend who taught me so much about living life well. I will leave you with one last story. She always told me that she envied my faith. She didn't feel that she had faith. And in our talks that last week of her life, when I was so blessed to come and spend a couple of days with her, I said to her that she could not have lived her life, the life that she lived, the way she lived it, if she didn't have faith. I said, "Maybe you called it something else." And she said, "I call it wonder." Somehow that comforted me. She told me that she was excited to finally find out. On the morning she died, August 25th, my daughter woke up just about 6 a.m. And she told me later that day when I had called her to tell her that Elise had died, she said, "Oh, Mom, I woke up at about 6 o'clock. And I clearly heard Elise say, 'I believe.'" Elise died at 6:05. Pericles said, "What you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others." Elise was a wonder, and I thank God for the gift of her love and her friendship.
That's okay.
Would be the first time.
Good thing it wasn't.
Exactly, right? Whew. All right. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. So many wonderful stories we're going to hear today. I wonder how we're going to get them all in. 'Cause there's a lot of memories that she provided for us, and it seems like every time I meet another friend, I hear another story about how she died. So I don't know if 9 lives is actually accurate. There may have been like 15. But the next song that we chose is one that my mom and my dad sang to us as children, and actually to her grandsons as well. Somehow when she sang this song, I could feel that she truly believed the words, "You make me happy when skies are gray." And hopefully we did, because I know she made us sure feel that way. And she was right. You will never know how much you love someone until they are gone. So the next song that we'd like to do is You Are My Sunshine.
And I asked Mike this, but please join me on the chorus. You guys should recognize this song. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. A dream like heaven, a dream of our love, a dream that keeps me from all harm. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. I'll always love you and make you happy, and this will always stay the same. Because you're mine, dear, I'll always love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. In all my dreams, dear, I see you clearly. When I awake, my poor heart pains. So please do come back and make me happy. I'll then have my sunshine again. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Thank you.
So, quick funny story. Apparently that's not a very nice song. So thank you for Michelle for coming up with some much sweeter words. I guess it's a true story about a jilted lover that involves murdering, and we never got that verse. We got the more G-rated version. So, yeah, right. Okay. Having a role model like Elise is a gift that keeps on giving. She was so wise and filled with so much emotional intelligence. Life struggles can be difficult to manage, and from time to time, my journey has required the guidance of self-help books or therapists. Every time I finished a book or walked out of a session, I would think, I just spent $150 to talk to my mom. It's funny how as a child you reject the lessons your parents try to teach you, only to find out that had you listened, it would have been a lot easier. While there are countless lessons she provided, here are a few of my favorite Eliseisms. Be kind to everyone and don't judge them, because you never know what baggage they carry. You aren't spoiled if you appreciate it, although my dad vehemently disagrees. There but for the grace of God go I. And speaking to your point, don't share dessert, just get more. It's not Trenton, it's Trenton. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing. It's not a parent's job to tell a child they can't. It's their job to teach them how they can. I'm sorry if you think life is fair. You can never have too many people that love you. and this too shall pass. The last three have never felt truer. Life isn't fair, because if it was, we would still have her here today, and she never would have had to endure so much pain and so much adversity. But as we've heard, throughout all that adversity, did she ever complain? No. Did she ever give up? No. Did she ever let anyone feel sorry for her or feel sorry for herself? Not 1 minute. So perhaps that was the best lesson she could teach all of us. And look around this room today. One person brought us all here, just one. And if that is not a testament to the importance of allowing love into your life, I'm not sure what is. And yes, Mom, this sorrow will pass. And although things will never be the same, we will stay strong, just like you taught us how, as we begin to find a new normal. At this time, we would like to open the floor to any of you who would like to share your own stories and your own memories. First, we have my Aunt Liza, followed by my cousin Danny.
I hope you can hear me, I'm rather short.
Vertically challenged.
Vertically challenged. Got it. My mother always said that you don't marry a person, you marry a family. And it has been my honor and privilege to be married to this close-knit family. Lucy was my sister-in-law, but that did not define our relationship. It was much more. I married Lucy's brother George, my college sweetheart, and we were together a long time before we married, and for many years I knew his parents and brothers, but I had not met yet Lucy as she lived in Los Angeles. The first time I met her, I traveled to Danbury where the family had gathered for Christmas, and my first glimpse of her was seeing her banging on the bathroom door begging to get in because her nephew, then known as Typhoid Kevin, had shared the flu with the entire family. I recall that I escaped the weekend without the flu, but I rarely caught a glimpse of Lucy. The next time I saw her was a day or two before our wedding. She had in tow a sickly, scrawny little boy and a little girl who was angrier than a hornet when she found out that I was going to be the bride and she wasn't. I would be forever grateful that she also had with her a veterinarian whose skills saved the day treating George for a severe hangover, thanks Mike, so he could participate in the wedding. The day after the wedding, as the Wilsons drove away, George said to me, "They'll be back?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "They always forget something." And sure enough, a few minutes later, they came back for Lucy's purse. I didn't see Lucy again until she joined me at George's bedside, where we supported each other for an agonizing week as he was dying. Our relationship was forged in sadness and sorrow, and we found in each other a mutual stubbornness and strength for which I will forever be grateful. When I began anew with George's best friend, Drew, she was my biggest supporter. She always referred to Drew as her other brother, and she had known him since high school. She was such a big supporter that the week after I married Drew, she moved in with us. She, Jay, 2 kids, a guinea pig, a cat, and a dog lived with me and my new husband while the house in Yardley was being built. And as they packed the car and drove away to move to Yardley, true to form, minutes later they came back. They forgot Mikey.
I don't know if that was an accident.
I said earlier that my mother says you don't marry a person, you marry a family, and that goes 2 ways. For Elise's good fortune that George married my family. 19 years ago, when facing a terrible cancer diagnosis, it was my family that came to the rescue. My cousin Ellen, who was connected to the National Cancer Institute, found an experimental clinical trial that offered some hope. Ellen intervened and got Lucy into the trial. That miracle made it possible for Lucy to see her children in secure relationships, and most wonderful of all, to experience becoming a grandmother to Rick, Riley, to Ziggy, and Arlo, and Echo. I wish to offer Ellen's favorite prayer. As you hold in your thoughts Lucy and George, Tommy and Tom, Till, Helen and Jim, and the others who you have loved and who have passed. Please follow each of my phrases with the words, we remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down. We remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter. We remember them. In the opening buds and in the rebirth of spring. We remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer. We remember them. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn. We remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends. We remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength. We remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart. We remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share. We remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they now are part of us as we remember them.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to Liza for those wonderful words. She is and always will be a tough act to follow. My Aunt Elise has always been special to me. Judging by the turnout here today, she was special to many others as well. Elise was so generous to me, sharing her home, her love, her family history, and amazing intellect. She will be missed. I would like to share a couple stories today to honor her grace and humor. I was lucky enough to spend many vacations with cousins who were close in age, but unfortunately for me, much better skiers. While trying to keep up with them on a ski trip at Elk Mountain around age 11 or 12, I managed to catch an edge and go off the side of a slope of a not at all difficult green circle. I was well below the line of sight and got myself tangled up in some trees, couldn't get my skis off, couldn't even stand up. I was pretty sure I was going to spend the night out there, but luckily for me, Elise, always the protector, had been skiing behind me, probably just waiting for me to crash. She popped her skis off, quickly scrambled down off the slope to find me panicked and embarrassed. With Elise's help, I was out of the trees and back on skis in no time. I was grateful for her care and for the rescue, but more importantly, she laughed with me, soothed my bruised ego, and she put me back on the way to try to catch my cousins. It was our little secret. Many years later, after my grandfather passed, we were rafting on the Umpqua River in Oregon, and I had a chance to repay the favor and rescue Elise. I'm not sure if it was Jeffrey or Kevin or their friend who was guiding the raft that Elise and I were in, but we managed to get sideways in some rapids and lose a few paddlers. I don't know if you want to take credit for that, Jeff, or if somebody else was at the helm. I was opposite Elise on the high side, and I had a perfect view of her getting tossed out of the raft into the white water. Again, I was panic-stricken, but I managed to find Elise when she popped up out of the water and pulled her back into the raft. I assumed this harrowing experience would have her on edge, but she was unfazed and reminded me, as she did many times, that she was good at falling. So, I think we all saw her bounce back in that way. It seems for every stumble that came her way over the many years, she recovered with the smile and strength that we'd all be lucky to have. Lastly, my mother couldn't be here today, but she asked me to read everyone a story from the early days of Elise and Jay. Elise and Jay flew in from overseas and picked up Elise's grandmother, Mimi, in New Jersey. It was a rainy day, and they started on their drive to Lake Harmony in the Poconos for Jay's first meeting with the extended Pryor family. Mimi wasn't a fan of rain and declared that she was going to need a few beers to get through this ride. They stopped and picked up a six-pack. As the rain picked up in intensity, so did Mimi's drinking in the backseat. Once the thunder and lightning started, she took the paper bag that the six-pack had been in and put it over her head. With each crack of thunder, a can was slipped under the bag, headed to the back for a drink. I could only imagine Elise's good humor in that situation and Uncle Jay's disbelief. When they arrived in Lake Harmony, it was still raining. Mimi refused to get out of the car. The family took turns coming out of the house to sit in the front seat and talk to the paper bag covered drinker. Finally, the storm subsided and she came inside. As they were getting settled, the storm picked up again, and Mimi and the family dog, Soot, both quickly headed to the closet. A tussle ensued as neither wanted to share the closet. Mimi won, soot was tossed out, the door slammed, and Mimi spent the rest of the storm in quiet solitude in the closet. Luckily for all of us, this didn't scare Jay away. We got to see the amazing life journey that he shared with Elise. To Elise.
So we don't really have a sign-up sheet or anything, so people can just kind of come up as you feel. And again, feel free to share any stories you have.
I'm Jack. This is Dan. We're Jim's brothers.
We're the good-looking ones.
Yeah, you know, he talks about his grandson's remarkable ability to manage to see things. Arlo just is so astute. So this morning I'm showing him pictures of my grandsons, and I had a Badger hat on, Wisconsin. He said, "You have the same hat on." And then we looked at a couple more pictures, and he said, "You must be younger than your brother because you've got hair on your head." So that really, truly happened this morning. Now, a little background. Jim was that brother that left home when I was 11 and Dan was 9, so we really didn't know him. But he ended up going out and finding all the thrills in life that we wished maybe would have, and one of them is the reason we're here today, Elise. What an absolute, I think, catch, you know, marrying up type of deal. So we represent our two siblings, Tom and Judy, that aren't here, and Amy and Mike's 10 cousins that aren't here, and then a whole next generation that we sure hope, Amy and Mike, you'll be very much a part of in the future, maybe next summer. But Dan's going to share a couple thoughts, and then I'll share a couple as well. Thanks, Jack.
Well, Robinson set me up wonderfully for this first story because this last summer when Elise and Jay were able to come back to Wisconsin for the Wilson family picnic, I was sitting down with Elise and I said to her, "Well, how did you two get together, you know, you and Jay?" And Robinson said earlier, you know, Jay really rushed things. Okay, Elise says to me, and he's Jay to our family, so when I call him Jay, think of Jim. Okay. But she says to me, Jay was horny, I was Randy. What were we going to do but get married, right? Those were her words, not my words. Those were her words. Our father was a really good man, but he was pretty tough. He, you know, had a tough life. He grew up and raised us on a farm. He was sarcastic. He was straightforward. And I always thought that Elise won him over because of her beauty. Boy, he was one who really looked at beauty. And because of her intelligence, because of her ability to take his sarcasm and give it right back to him in his face. And that's what really helped win him over. But I found out from Jay this morning what the real reason that won my dad over. And our wives didn't do this, so they had a tough start. But Jay and Elise arrived from, must have been from California at that time. Germany, yep, okay. And met my parents, and by the way, my mom loved everybody. So nobody had to impress her, nobody had to get on her good side, everybody was there. But for my father, they got up the next morning, and my dad said, "I'm going to take a lamb to the locker plant in Ripon, about 30 miles away, 25, 30 miles away. Do you want to ride along?" And here's this city girl on a farm riding along with my crusty father on a way to have a lamb butchered, and that did it. That was the